Alright, so it's day 94 of the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge, and I am in the thick of writing my first draft for Chapter 5 of Quarterly Stories, my graphic novel. So I poured myself a small glass of bourbon, and what I'm going to do is sit down at the computer, work on this glass of bourbon, and write some of my first draft. So we'll see how it goes. It is day 94 of the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge, as I said at the top, which is the challenge started by my friend Kevin Cross, where we're supposed to spend 30 minutes a day minimum for 100 consecutive days working on our own personal comic book projects. And I'm working on Quarterly Stories, my comic about faith and mental illness that you can check out at quarterlystories.com, or if you want to support it or read it up to, as it's going on, you can also go to tapas.io and search for Quarterly Stories and add it to your library there. I know that's a few more steps, but it really means a lot, and I'm getting closer and closer to the point of actually monetizing that, which is kind of also kind of cool, even if it's like a penny or whatever. I honestly would appreciate making something off of this thing, because this is definitely a passion project. It's a very time-consuming project. It's autobiographical, so it's also kind of like a tough project because it's causing me to kind of delve into the depths of my soul and all sorts of weird stuff like that. But anyhow, the purpose of what I'm working on tonight, what I got done tonight, was the junk writing stage, or the rough draft stage of Chapter 5 of Quarterly Stories, and I'm hoping to kind of get through that hopefully by the end of the week. It's always hard with writing, and for me, it's great because I have my story arc and I have my objective to fulfill with this, which is to kind of further the themes of the story, but also function as like a more lighthearted approach in both style and in the storytelling for this point in the story of Quarterly Stories. But one thing that I came across today when I was writing, I made some progress. I feel like I'm getting really interesting content, but it's hard because I feel like I might be kind of doing too much of an overview, which sequentially, like in a book, kind of works out okay, but sequentially it may not work out so well because it would be a lot of montages. And I kind of don't want to do like a bunch of 80s montages for this sequence, even though it takes place in the 80s. I think it would be more effective to kind of really cue in on a specific moment and kind of tell a story, because I feel like that was pretty effective about Chapter 2, that it wasn't like this holistic like this is how I met this person, this is how I met this person. It's more like you just kind of zoomed in on a moment in a kid's life. And I feel like I probably have to get over some of that overview stuff and get some of that out in the writing process in order to kind of edit some of that out and target in on one specific incident. But I am feeling pretty good about getting a little bit further. I have about 3 pages done now, which isn't a lot, but I honestly, it's better than the one in like a sentence that I had yesterday. And so I figure if I keep hammering away, and then probably after tomorrow, maybe if I make a little more headway, print it out, really just kind of sit back and objectively read it, then I'll be able to kind of edit it down. So usually the process I'll go through is kind of like what I'm doing tonight, and probably will be doing for the next few nights, which is just kind of getting it out, getting the content out, hoping that I kind of hit on something that kind of touches home to what I really want. These older kind of childhood era ones are really hard because, like I said, it's hard not to get nostalgic and just kind of start meandering and doing tangents about all sorts of stuff that happened from my childhood. But I'm not really doing this as like a entertaining memoir. I'm like, I have an objective, I have a goal, I have a theme to this story. So that's the big hard juggle for me on this. And I wonder if any of you guys out there have really delved into autobiographical material, or even when doing like fantasy material or fiction material, if you guys struggle with kind of keeping the goalpost in mind, keeping the general theme of the story in mind, and not, branching out into too many tangents. Anyhow, so regardless, that's kind of what's on my mind today. I'm just kind of hoping that I can stay focused. I'm hoping that tomorrow I can get that same kind of window that I had today, where there's like a free period of time where it's quiet, where I can really focus on writing. When I'm writing, I can't even listen to music. I've heard of people who like listen to soundtracks or something like that, but for me, when I'm writing, I really have to target in on writing. However, I did try to get like a little bit of a time lapse so you guys could kind of see my progress and have something to see, because I have no art to show today. But to just know that, yes, I did do day 94 of the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge, and I literally have like 6 days left of this challenge, which kind of bums me out. I'm excited about it because it's been a lot of hard work doing the challenge, but I really wanted to, I don't know, it's like I wish that this writing process were quicker. I wish the process of making pages were quicker. I wish I could have started this challenge and in 100 days been like, I'm finished with the book. But for me, I really do put a lot of consideration and time into my writing and into the execution of the comics. And I do that intentionally because I have rushed through comics before. I have kind of skirted around the story, and I felt very unfulfilled from the end of that process. So my goal in this is to really end up with like a strong story, a strong comic, and unfortunately, the way I work, that just takes time. So oddly enough, it's funny, it'll probably take me maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks to kind of really boil down this chapter, max. And what's fascinating to me about that is the fact that like whatever I get done in these next few weeks is really going to dictate the next year's worth of work. So I really want to make sure that I refine and perfect whatever I'm writing, because like I said, 10 pages of comics can end up being, or 10 pages of writing can end up being about 50 pages of comics. It's crazy how much more time consuming the creation of comics and the creation of art is in comparison to the writing of comics. It's just the speed involved is insane. You can cover a lot more territory in writing. However, that also makes it fun. I'm enjoying the writing stage, and so that'll do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on this last glass of Jameson, and I'm gonna go to sleep. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you guys are having an equally successful time on your 100 days challenges, or just your own creative endeavors, or just your YouTube watching. Oh, and by the way, thanks to those of you who've subscribed, commented, and shared and liked my YouTube page. It means a lot. It actually really supports the writing and the kind of thinking and the investment of time that I'm really putting into this thing. And for those of you who've like taken the time to actually check out my comic at quarterlystories.com or check it out on Tapas, just those of you who checked out Quarterly Stories, it really it means a lot. It means a lot that there are readers already, and that the people who've read it seem to actually be impacted by it and interested in it. It just means a lot. And so anyhow, I will see you guys tomorrow on day 95, which is 5 days till the end of this crazy challenge. All right. Yeah, I guess that'll do it. Bye.